There are places in your mind you've locked away. Memories that don't feel like yours. Whispers that never came from outside. Welcome to Mind Twist Horror. Where your sanity fractures. Your soul remembers. And the darkness knows your name. These aren't just stories. They're warnings from the other side. And once you hear them, you'll never truly be alone again. Subscribe before something else does it for you. My daughter was the first to hear the house speak. She didn't use words. She used drawings. Hundreds of them. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Just scribbles. Red circles. Twisted black lines that didn't mean anything. But then the shapes started changing. They became people. Not normal ones. Their faces were blank. Their arms hung too long. And behind them, always, something else. A mouth in the wall. Watching. Waiting. One night, I found her in the hallway. Sitting cross-legged, just staring at the wallpaper like it was speaking to her. I asked what she was doing. She didn't even look at me. Just reached out and placed her palm flat against the wall. Then she whispered. "It's listening." I didn't understand. Not then. I thought it was just her imagination. Maybe something to do with losing her mom last year. Maybe the move. Maybe the silence of this strange old house we rented on a budget I didn't want to talk about. But the next drawing she made, it was of me. Not standing. Not smiling. I was lying down. Flat. Pale. And something was growing out of my chest. Like roots. Or veins. Feeding into the wall. When I asked her what it was, she looked up at me, and said, "Daddy, the house is hungry again." Pause, thunder rumbles, low. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen. Lights off. Just listening. And at exactly 3:14 a.m. I heard it. Not footsteps. Not knocking. Breathing. Wet. Slow. Starving. I told myself it was the pipes. Or the wind. Or maybe just my mind turning against me. But in the morning, her drawings had changed again. No more faceless people. Just me. Standing at the top of the stairs. Holding something in my hands. Something small. And red. We moved into this place in the middle of October. Old farmhouse. Far from town. No nearby neighbors. And rent that was too low not to be suspicious. But after the layoff, I didn't have many options. It was just me and Sarah now. And I thought, maybe this house, this land, this silence, would be the fresh start we needed. I thought we could bury the grief here. But I was wrong. It followed us. It lives here. In the walls. At first, it was just little things. Sarah started whispering to the vents. She sat in corners where the wallpaper was peeling and hummed lullabies only her mother had ever sung. She started drawing doors that didn't exist. One with sharp corners and a frame that looked like bone. When I asked her where it led, she said, "The one before me lives in there now." I found a crawlspace in the attic behind the insulation. You wouldn't even know it was there unless the house wanted you to find it. Inside. A shoebox. Filled with crayon drawings. Not Sarah's. Older. Different names written in shaky handwriting at the bottom. And one word scratched in red again and again until the paper was torn. Offering. There were dates. Names. Children. All different. But the drawings were the same. A wall. A mouth. And something being handed into it. The last page had a small red handprint. And underneath it, a message. If no one leaves, someone must be given. That night, Sarah didn't eat dinner. I found her in the basement. Sitting perfectly still in the dark. Facing the wall. She whispered. The house told me what it needs. The next morning, all the doors were locked. Not with keys. Just gone. No hinges. No handles. No seams. The windows were painted black from the inside. My phone? Static. No signal. Just a white screen with one message. It remembers. I started seeing things. My reflection blinked at the wrong time. My shadow didn't follow me. And always, Sarah. Sitting. Waiting. One morning, she said. It doesn't want me this time. But it still needs something. That evening, she was gone. I found her standing in the hallway where the wallpaper was torn. She looked up at me and said. I told it to take me instead. I screamed. I begged her not to. But the wall behind her opened. Not like a door. Not with hinges or cracks. It breathed. It opened like skin tearing too slow. And she walked into it. The wall closed. And I never saw her again. There was no trace of her. Just a single red crayon, rolled into the corner of the floor. I told the police. I begged for help. They searched the house. Every inch. They said I was delusional. Grieving. Unstable. But at night, the house still breathes. And when I press my ear to the floor, I can hear her humming. Still humming. Still inside. Keeping it quiet. Because she gave herself so I could stay. Now I sit in the hall every night, and listen. Just to make sure it doesn't ask for more. So if your child ever tells you the house is hungry, leave. Don't pack. Don't wait. Because once the house knows your name, it doesn't let go. Until it's fed. Story 2. The man who rented me this room only said one thing. Not, welcome. Not, enjoy your stay. Just this. If you ever hear breathing behind the walls, don't answer it. He didn't smile when he said it. Didn't laugh like it was a joke. Just handed me the key. And closed the door. I should have left then. But I didn't. Because when you've lost everything, you start ignoring the things that should scare you. It was supposed to be just a room. That's what I kept telling myself. A place to sleep. A place to start over. 4 walls. A ceiling. A locked door. And silence. But there's a kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels watched. The first night, I thought it was just the building settling. The second night, I thought it was just my imagination. By the third, I started listening back. And the more I listened, the more I realized, whatever was behind the wall was listening too. I moved in the same week I lost my job. I remember standing outside that apartment building with everything I owned in a single duffel bag, wondering how it had come to this. No savings. No friends left in the city. And no one left who would answer the phone if I called. I didn't need comfort. I didn't need sunlight. I didn't even need sleep. Just a room. Something cheap. Something quiet. The Craigslist ad barely said anything. No photos. No name. Just room for rent. Must be quiet. Cash only. No leases. That was it. But something about it felt final. Like the room had been waiting for me. When I got there, I almost turned back. The building looked abandoned. 3 stories tall. Shutters nailed shut. Cracks in the bricks, like veins. But when I knocked, the door opened immediately. The man standing there didn't say hello. Didn't even ask who I was. He just stared. His eyes were gray. Not from age, from absence. Like no one had looked into them in years. He turned and walked inside. Said nothing. And I followed him. The hallway was narrow, like it had grown tighter over time. The wallpaper peeled in long, curling strips. And on the walls, photographs. Dozens of them. Faces in black and white. Men. Women. Children. But all the eyes had been scratched out. Every single one. At the very end of the hallway, past every other door, was one, just slightly smaller. Not short enough to notice at first. But once I stood in front of it, it felt wrong. The proportions. The space. Like the door had been made to keep something in. He pushed the door open without a sound. And inside was the room. Already furnished. A single bed with a thin, gray sheet. A desk with nothing in the drawers. A lamp with a flickering bulb. And no windows. Just 4 walls. And silence. The kind of silence that feels like it's waiting for you to speak first. He stood behind me. Still hadn't said anything since opening the door. And then he leaned in. I felt his voice before I heard it. Don't speak into the walls. Ever. The first night was quiet. And for a moment, I let myself believe I'd found peace. I laid on the bed, stiff mattress, rough sheet, and just stared at the ceiling. The bulb and the lamp flickered now and then, but never fully went dark. I didn't bother unpacking. There was nothing to unpack. Sleep came easy that night. But staying asleep, that was something else. At exactly 3:17 a.m. I woke up. Not from a dream. Not from a sound. From a feeling. The kind of feeling you get when someone's standing right behind you. Breathing. It wasn't loud. It wasn't even threatening. It was close. Right beside the bed. Breathing, slow, ragged. Hungry. I reached for the lamp and turned it on. The light buzzed, weak and yellow. But no one was there. Still, the sound didn't stop. It shifted. Moved, not away, but into the wall beside me. I sat up. Pressed my ear against the plaster. And there it was. Still breathing. Soft, steady, and listening. I don't know why I did it. Maybe part of me thought I could prove I was just imagining it. Or maybe I was already beginning to obey it. I knocked. The wall knocked back. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Just sat there, watching the corner where the sound had come from. The next night, I didn't even bother turning off the light. I lay awake, staring at the same corner. Waiting. Not sure if I wanted the sound to come back, or if I was praying it wouldn't. And then it began. Whispers. Not words. Not sentences. Just syllables. Like someone speaking a language made of breath. Too low to understand. Too clear to ignore. I told myself it was just the building. Pipes. Old ventilation. Something explainable. But the sound wasn't coming from the vents. It was coming from the drywall. From behind it. I got out of bed. I opened the closet. And that's when I knew. This room had secrets. The nails in the back panel. They weren't hammered in. They were bent,
pushed from the inside,
not pulled outward.
Something had tried to come through. Not long ago. Not long enough. I didn't open it. I couldn't. But I left the closet door ajar. And that night, as I lay there, I swear I heard it creak further open on its own.
It was the fourth night without sleep. The whispers hadn't stopped. They'd only changed. Sometimes they came from the walls. Sometimes from the floorboards. And once, from inside the mattress. I didn't plan to search the room. I was just pacing, moving to keep from falling asleep. That's when I noticed. One of the boards beneath the bed didn't sit right. I knelt down, slid my fingers into the crack. It came up easy, like it wanted to be found. There was something wedged in the space below, wrapped in fabric, stained, stiff. When I pulled it out, something uncoiled with it. At first I thought it was thread. But it wasn't. It was hair. Long, dark, still clinging to a brittle piece of twine. The letter inside was fragile, brown at the edges. Ink almost bled away. But I could read the first line clearly, like it had been written yesterday. If you're reading this, it already knows your name. You don't live in this room. You feed it. I sat there, staring at that line. Something about it felt less like a warning, and more like a sentence. Like the moment I read it, the room had closed itself around me. But that wasn't the only thing in the floor. There were more scraps. Torn notebook pages. Dried out receipts with writing scrawled in the margins. Someone, maybe many someones, had left notes. Desperate. Shaking. Trying to leave something behind before the room erased them too. Some entries were barely readable. Don't trust the closet. It changes when you're not looking. It wants you to talk back. One scrap had the same line over and over, scratched in with something sharp. The silence is a trick. The silence is a trick. The silence is a trick. But it was the rules that stuck with me. Simple. Always the same. Never speak to it. Never knock more than once. And never, ever, sleep facing the wall. That last one didn't make sense. Not yet. But the more I read, the more I realized these weren't just notes. They were confessions. From others who had come before me. And none of them ever said they left. It was maybe the fifth night. I hadn't slept. Not really. Just laid there, eyes open, waiting for the next whisper. I stopped turning off the light. I stopped blinking long enough for the shadows to move. That night, the voice didn't come from the wall. It came from under the bed. One long exhale. Slow. Damp. I remember the exact second I broke. I pressed my hand to the wall. And whispered, "Please. Leave me alone." For a moment. I thought that was it. Like maybe it had been waiting for me to ask. But then, the wall whispered back. I was alone too. I felt the air shift. Not like a draft. Like pressure. Like something had just entered the room. The lamp flickered, and then dimmed. The light didn't go out, it just curled up. Like it was hiding too. The walls pulsed. Not outward, but inward. Like they were breathing with me. Or without me. Will you stay with me? Please, stay with me. I jumped out of bed. I ran to the door. Grabbed the handle. It didn't budge. Not locked. Not jammed. Just listening. I pounded on it. I screamed. Nothing. And then I realized. Every word I said. It was coming back to me. Not like an echo. Like a mouth, repeating. Please, leave me, alone. Alone, alone, not alone, mine now. You belong to me. The walls laughed. Not loudly. Not like a person. Like the creak of wood stretching into a smile. That was when I stopped talking. I didn't speak again for 2 days. Not even to myself. Because I knew. Whatever I said, the room would use it. I'll never leave. Will you? I started writing instead. Filling notebooks. Scratching into wood. Anything but speaking. But the room didn't care. It wanted words. Spoken. Heard. It fed on sound. I stopped eating. Say it again. Not on purpose. I didn't. Food just stopped meaning anything. Hunger felt foreign. Like it belonged to the room more than me. I stopped sleeping. Or maybe I still did. But I wasn't the one dreaming anymore. I just sat there. 4 hours. Eyes locked on the wall. Waiting. And then. It started again. Only this time. It was different. The breathing wasn't slow. It was urgent. Wet. Starving. And then I saw it. A shape. Behind the drywall. Long. Wrong. Moving side to side. Not walking. Pacing. Like it was waiting its turn. The drywall shifted. Bent. From the inside. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then, it split. Not exploded. Not shattered. Just, opened. A thin tear, right down the center. But nothing came out. Instead, it waited. The silence inside that wall was deeper than death. It wasn't emptiness. It was making room. Someone new has seen the listing. I don't know if it meant me. Or someone else. But it didn't matter. Because when I tried to move, I couldn't. My hands wouldn't lift. My legs didn't feel like they were mine. And behind my eyes, I could feel it. The room. Peeling me away. Don't worry. You won't even miss yourself. The wall opened. But only a little. Just enough to take me. Not violently. Not with claws or hands. Just, replaced me. Like one voice being erased. So another could use the throat. The last thing I heard wasn't my voice anymore. It was someone else. Using it. I like this one. Close the door behind you. They say the room's still listed. Still cheap. Still quiet. No one seems to remember who owns the building anymore. It just stays there. Waiting. Always the same ad. Same hallway. Same room at the end. Same silence. Every few weeks. Someone answers the listing. Someone who needs a place. Someone who wants quiet. Someone who thinks they're alone. They come with their bags. They meet the man with no name. He hands them the key. And if they listen closely, he still says the same thing. Don't speak into the walls. But they always do. Sooner or later. They whisper. They knock. They break the silence. And when they do, I hear them. Their voices echo through me. Some panic. Some beg. Some laugh for a while. But they all go quiet in the end. Because the room doesn't just listen. It remembers. It keeps things. And now, I'm part of that.
My voice isn't mine anymore. It belongs to the walls. To the quiet. To you, maybe. So if you ever see that listing, if you ever rent the room at the end of the hall, and the lights flicker, and the walls creak, and you think you're alone, are you alone too? Story 3. I keep telling myself, it's just a dream. Just sleep playing tricks on me. Just stress, fatigue, imagination. But the door keeps opening. Not all at once. Not fast. Just a little more each morning. The first day, maybe an inch. The second, 2. By the fourth, I stopped pretending I hadn't noticed. I'd close it every night before bed. Locked, latched, pushed a chair in front of it. But in the morning, it would always be just a little more open. It doesn't lead to anything. That's the worst part. It's not even supposed to be there. The wall is solid concrete. No frame. No knob. Just a blue painted door. In a place where no door should be. At first I thought it was some trick of the light. Sleep paralysis. Maybe a dream I hadn't fully woken up from. But last night, I heard it open. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it. I pulled the covers over my head and stayed still. Didn't breathe. Didn't blink. But something came through. I didn't see it. But I felt it. Standing just beside the bed. Not touching me. Not breathing. Just watching. And now tonight, the door's already open again. Wider than ever. When I first moved in, there was no blue door. Just a blank wall at the end of the hallway. Seamless. Smooth. Sealed like a tombstone. I would have remembered it. I'm sure of that. I always noticed strange things. Peeling corners. Hairline cracks. I remember counting the steps from the kitchen to that back wall. Like I was trying to measure the quiet. It was just a wall. Nothing more. Until the third night. That's when I first dreamed of it. A door. Not in my apartment, but inside me somehow. Floating in dark water. Tall. Painted deep ocean blue. A long, crooked crack running down the middle. Like something was already halfway through. I didn't open it. I just stood there. Staring at it. You've been here before. I woke up in sweat. My heart pounding. The covers tangled tight around me like hands. I tried to shake it off. Just a dream. Just stress. That's what I told myself. But when I walked down the hallway that morning, the wall wasn't the same. It didn't look like a door yet. But there was a line. Thin. Right down the middle. Like the drywall had been split. Not cracked, no damage. Just a perfect, vertical seam. I ran my hand over it. And it was warm. Not room temperature. Warm. Like breath. I should have left then. Packed my things. Walked out without looking back. But something about it kept pulling at me. You remember, don't you? I didn't answer. I didn't breathe. But the next morning, that line down the wall was deeper. Not carved. Not painted. Just deeper. Like the wall itself had remembered the door too. Each night, I'd fall asleep to the sound of rain. I thought it was comforting at first. A lullaby for the lonely. But after the third night, it felt different. Every morning, the blue door was more real. More physical. More open. By the fifth night, it had a frame. Clean edges. Carved into the drywall. It didn't even look new. It looked old. Like it had always been there. And the apartment had just forgotten it. By the sixth night, it had a knob. Black. Iron. Smooth like stone. And cold enough to sting. But here's the worst part. I never dreamed of it opening. I dreamed. It was already open. And I was standing inside it. Not moving. Just there. Like I'd been there before. Like I'd never left. The hallway in the dream didn't belong to my building. It was longer. Older. Made of wood and stone and breathing walls. It sloped downward. Forever. There were no lights. Just shapes. And cold. Sometimes I'd call out. Just a whisper. Just, hello? And something always answered. You've come back. This time, don't leave. I woke up that morning with dirt on my feet. Actual dirt. Damp. Black. Smelled like old earth and mold. I checked the floor. Nothing. Checked the hallway. Just that door. Closed again. But something had followed me back. I tried not to sleep that night. I left the lights on. Blasted music. Took cold showers. But sometime around 3 a.m. I blinked. And when I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of it. Hand on the knob. Bare feet on cold floorboards I don't have in this apartment. And I was smiling. Not because I wanted to. But because it did. The door wants me back. It knows me. And it's getting harder to remember which side of it I belong to. I started waking up. In places I didn't fall asleep in. On the floor. In the hallway. Once, sitting in front of the door. The knob was ice cold. My hand was already on it. But I wasn't scared. That's what terrified me. I didn't feel anything. Like I was just waiting. For the part where I stopped being me. So I bought a camera. Nothing fancy. Just something motion triggered. I installed it outside my bedroom door, facing down the hallway. The next morning, I checked the footage. The timestamp said 3:13 a.m. And there I was. Walking calmly through the hallway. Toward the blue door. No jerky sleepwalking. No hesitation. Just, deliberate. The camera caught me reaching for the handle. Opening the door. Stepping inside. Except, I never remembered getting out of bed. And when I zoomed in, the door didn't open into the hallway. It opened into a mirror of my apartment. But something was off. The angles were too sharp. The shadows moved before the light touched them. And the worst part, I was already inside it. Standing in the middle of the mirrored room. Facing the version of me walking in. And smiling. The me on the camera. Didn't flinch. Didn't run. He just stepped inside. And the door closed behind him. I scrubbed through the rest of the footage. I never came back out. But I'm here. I woke up in my bed. Didn't I? I don't remember walking back. I don't remember closing the door. But now, every time I look in the mirror, I swear it's watching me. Like, it's waiting to see if I'll notice that I'm not the one looking. That morning, I woke up with bruises on my hands. Dirt under my nails. My wrists ached like I'd been crawling. Crawling out of something tight. Something alive. The sheets were damp. My clothes were on backward. But the worst part? The bed was still warm. Beside me. I live alone. I didn't move for a full minute.
Just lay there. Listening. Hoping I'd hear a voice. Or maybe praying I wouldn't. Let me stay, you go. I got up. Stumbled to the mirror. And froze. It was me. But, not exactly. Same face. Same clothes. But the eyes were, waiting. Like they already knew something I hadn't remembered yet. I watched myself tilt my head. A second too late. Not mirroring me, watching me. Trying to decide if I'd noticed. I reached out. And the reflection didn't move. That's when I ran. Grabbed my keys. Headed for the front door. Gone. Not locked. Just, gone. Like it had never been there. I tried the windows next. Every one of them, painted over. From the inside. Not curtains. Not blinds. Just, thick blue paint. Same shade as the door. I grabbed my phone. Tried to call someone. Anyone. But the screen wouldn't unlock. No numbers. Just one message. Floating in the center of the screen. Black background. White text. You're not supposed to wake up here. I dropped the phone. But the message stayed. Not on the screen anymore. On the walls. Scrawled in dust. Written into the mirror fog. Whispered through the vents. I'm not supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to remember. I wasn't supposed to wake up before. Whatever took my place finished settling in. Let me stay, you go. But I'm still here. I think. Unless I already left. Unless I already went through the door. And this voice. Maybe this voice you're hearing right now isn't mine anymore. Last night. I gave in. I stopped fighting it. I opened the blue door. I don't remember turning the knob. I just remember standing there. Hand already on the handle. And the feeling that something was smiling. On the other side. I stepped through. One foot. Then the other. The floor under me didn't feel like wood. It felt like breath. Holding me. And everything was reversed. My apartment. But mirrored. Photos hung in the same places. But the faces, blurred. No eyes. Just smears where expressions should have been. The clocks ticked in reverse. My phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out. The screen said, "You are dreaming of yourself." I walked into the bedroom. Same room. Same walls. Same creak in the floorboard. And in the bed was me. Sleeping. Peacefully. Breathing. Face slack like I hadn't known fear in years. You always look calm when you're not real. I didn't move. I just stood there. Watching myself sleep. And then I started remembering things that hadn't happened to me. Other mornings. Other versions. A cup I never broke, already shattered on the floor. A tooth I hadn't lost, missing from the mirror. I knelt beside the bed. Leaned in. And whispered into my own sleeping ear. Every time you sleep, we switch. That version of me smiled. Just slightly. Like he'd been waiting. I don't know who I've been switching with. I don't know what it is. But I don't think I'm the original anymore. I think the real me left that first night I dreamed of the blue door. And I'm just what it left behind. To make sure the door stays open. This side doesn't sleep. The blue door only opens when I'm asleep. And I think next time I won't wake up at all. If you've ever dreamed of a door that didn't exist, and then saw it in waking life, Don't open it. And if you already have, tell me what's waiting on the other side. Thanks for listening to tonight's story on Mind Twist Horror. Comment, I walked through. If your dreams don't always end when you wake up. Subscribe for more stories that follow you back.